The Galactic Council had known silence in that sector for centuries. The stars there were cold and empty. Even the machines of the old empires avoided it. They called it the Dark Edge, a dead zone with no life, no energy, and no reason to exist. Then one quiet rotation, a strange signal appeared. Weak at first, then stronger. It pulsed in perfect rhythm, like a heartbeat echoing through the void. The Council's monitors flashed red. Their scientists leaned closer, trying to decode it. "It's artificial," said one analyst, his voice shaking. "Something built this." The chamber filled with whispers. No one had dared to explore that place for thousands of years. Yet now, something was awake there. A council vote was called. Some argued to ignore it. Others demanded investigation. Curiosity always won over fear, and within hours, 3 scout vessels were launched from the orbital station Azen 9. Their mission was simple: track the signal and report. Nothing more. As they crossed the border into the Dark Edge, their instruments began to fail, radiation spiked, and even the stars looked wrong. Their light bent and shimmered like water. Captain Ral, commander of the lead ship Aventra, ordered all ships to maintain formation. His crew obeyed, but unease filled every breath. "Signal strength increasing," said the navigator. "Origin point is moving." Captain Ral frowned. "Moving." He repeated, "Ships did not move like that. Planets did not move like that. Only something alive, or something guided, could." Hours passed, and the signal grew louder. It was not just sound. It was like pressure inside the skull, a low hum that vibrated bones. One crew member started to bleed from his nose. Another fainted at the controls. Still, Ral pushed forward. Then space twisted, sensors exploded in static, and every screen went dark for 10 heartbeats. There was nothing, only the stars, still and cold. Then it appeared. At first, it looked like a mountain drifting through the dark, its shadow swallowing the stars behind it. Then lights flickered along its hull, massive lines of blue and white. Like veins of power, the crew fell silent. No one spoke, no one breathed. "By the core," whispered the navigator. "That's no asteroid." The object was enormous. Thousands of meters long, armored and old, its surface marked by scars of ancient battles. Weapons larger than cities rested on its frame, and the signal now came directly from it. A steady pulse, strong, deliberate, human. Captain Ral felt a chill crawl up his spine. "Send greeting code 03. Identify us as explorers of the Galactic Council," he ordered. The communications officer obeyed, sending bursts of light and data toward the giant. Seconds stretched into minutes, no reply, only silence. The hum of the ship filled their ears. Then suddenly, a low tone rolled through every speaker, deep enough to shake the metal beneath their feet. A voice followed, calm, mechanical, heavy with power. "Identify yourselves," it said. The crew froze. The language was ancient, nearly forgotten, yet the translator recognized it. "It's Terran Standard," whispered the officer. Fear spread like fire. "Terran?" Ral repeated. Humans were myths, stories told to frighten young cadets. They were said to have destroyed themselves long ago, before the council ever rose. Yet the voice spoke again, this time slower, colder. "You have entered restricted space." Captain Ral tried to respond. "We come in peace, representing the Galactic Council," but the comms cut off. The voice had overridden their system. Its control absolute, the massive object began to move, engines igniting with silent fire. Ripples of light burst from its rear like wings. Sensors overloaded again. Numbers flashed beyond limits, and suddenly, their fleet's energy cores shut down one by one. Ships drifted powerless, caught in the gravity of the unknown vessel. From the darkness, a single beam of light scanned across the Aventra, painting every corridor in pale blue. Crew members stood frozen as it passed through walls like smoke, reading, recording, understanding. Captain Ral gripped his console. "It's scanning us," he said through clenched teeth. His mind filled with the stories of Terran machines, warships so powerful they could erase planets, legends told by the oldest species of the galaxy. Then, as suddenly as it began, the light vanished. Systems rebooted, stars returned. The object stopped moving. On the main screen, the warship turned slightly, revealing a faded emblem burned onto its hull. A circle of 12 stars surrounding a single planet. Old Terran design, below it, a word barely visible under the rust of centuries. "Titan!" The crew said nothing. The name alone carried weight. Captain Ral knew what it meant. A Titan-Class human warship. Something no living being had seen for thousands of years. The voice returned, softer now. "Leave. it said, and then the transmission ended. Moments later, the warship vanished into the dark, faster than their scanners could follow, leaving behind the broken silence of deep space. Captain Ryle stood there, hands shaking, his crew staring at him for orders. He whispered the only thing that made sense. "Return to base." As the fleet turned back toward Council space, no one spoke. The stars seemed colder, the universe somehow smaller, and in that silence, far behind them, in the shadows of the dark edge, the Titan's lights flickered once more, watching, waiting, alive. The Galactic Council's fleet returned in silence, every ship damaged, every system unstable. The captains avoided each other's eyes, afraid to speak of what they had seen. The dark edge was now a place none of them wished to remember. At the central hall of the Galactic Council, reports came flooding in. Engineers whispered that the data collected from the unknown warship made no sense. Power readings were beyond all known scales. One scientist even fainted after seeing the energy output numbers. "It should not exist," he said. "Nothing that size should move like that." But it did, and it spoke in a human voice. The council gathered in full attendance for the first time in decades. Hundreds of alien leaders filled the chamber. Light from the great dome shimmered across their scales, skin and fur. The air was heavy with fear. "Is it confirmed?" asked Counselor Tereth, her tendrils trembling. Was it truly Terran? Captain Ryle stood at the center of the hall, his uniform torn, his face pale. "It spoke Terran Standard," he said slowly, and the hull had human markings. A wave of gasps spread through the room. The name of the old species, humans, was almost forbidden to speak. They were known in history as destroyers, the Death Worlders, the first to weaponize entire planets. The Council archives said they vanished after their final war. Their empire burned itself to ash, but now something had survived. The Council ordered a new mission. One ship, unarmed, diplomatic. It would send a direct transmission to the signal source. It was meant to show peace, not fear, to prove the Council was still brave, but deep down, every mind in the chamber knew it was a lie. They were terrified. 2 days later, the diplomatic vessel Harmony's voice left orbit, its hull gleaming gold under the twin suns, its crew chosen for calmness and courage. On the bridge stood Ambassador Kith, an old alien with soft silver skin, his eyes full of curiosity and hidden dread. "Keep signal open on all frequencies," he ordered, "and prepare to transmit greeting." The communications officer nodded, hands shaking slightly as the Harmony's voice crossed into the dark edge. All navigation lights dimmed, sensors flickered, then stabilized. The signal appeared again, steady, strong, pulsing once every 10 seconds, the same pattern as before. "Begin transmission," Keth said, and the ship spoke. "To the unknown vessel within this region, we come from the Galactic Council. We seek peaceful dialogue and understanding. We mean no harm." For 10 long minutes, there was no reply, only the endless hum of the stars. Then suddenly, the signal shifted. The rhythm changed. Faster now, louder. It felt like the heartbeat of a giant waking up. The ship trembled, lights dimmed, and every screen filled with static, then cleared, revealing darkness. Out of that darkness, a shape appeared, vast and cold. The Titan-Class Warship had returned. Every crew member froze, their hearts pounding. The Harmony's voice looked like a toy beside it. A shadow fell over their bridge as the Titan slowly turned, its colossal surface reflecting distant starlight. Then a voice echoed through the comms, deep and calm. "State your purpose." Keth swallowed, his voice shaking but steady. "We are representatives of the Galactic Council. We seek contact, friendship, and peace with the humans." There was silence again, then a faint, almost human sigh. "There are no humans," the voice said. "Only guardians." The crew looked at one another, confused. "Guardians of what?" Keth asked, but the question was ignored. The warship moved closer, and suddenly, every communication channel on the Council's networks activated at once. The warship was broadcasting directly across the galaxy. On every world, every station, every ship tuned to the Council frequency. The same voice spoke. "To all who listen," it said, "this region is under Terran protection. Entry is forbidden. Further trespass will be considered a threat." The Council chambers erupted in chaos. Delegates screamed over each other. "It's impossible. They are extinct. This must be an automated weapon." The panic spread fast. Meanwhile, aboard the Harmony's voice, the Titan's engines began to glow. bright white energy rippling along its hull. The crew's instruments read impossible numbers. "Power output rising," shouted the engineer. "We can't match it." Keth tried again. "We are peaceful, please." "We mean no harm," the voice returned, calm, emotionless. "Peace is earned through memory." Then the warship released a pulse of light. Pure and silent, it passed through the Harmony's voice like a ghost, disabling every system without causing harm. Engines died. Life support flickered, but the crew still breathed, frozen in awe. Moments later, the Titan turned away, its colossal form fading into the distance. Leaving only static behind, Ambassador Keth stood still, his reflection flickering in the dark screen before him. "Peace is earned through memory," he repeated quietly. "What memory?" When the ship finally limped back to council space, the delegates refused to believe it had happened. Some called it a hoax. Others feared it was the beginning of something greater. But one thing was certain. The Titan-Class Warship was real. It was awake, and it was watching. And somewhere beyond the dark edge, deep within the void, the silent guardians of Earth stirred once more, their engines humming softly beneath the stars, waiting for the next message to come. The return of the diplomatic ship shook the galaxy. The recordings from the Harmony's voice spread through the Council's networks like wildfire. Every leader, every scientist, every admiral saw the same thing, the image of a colossal human warship and the calm, cold voice that spoke across every frequency. Inside the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, fear filled the air. Thousands of delegates from hundreds of worlds gathered in silence. The lights dimmed and the main holodisplay flickered to life, showing the frozen frame of the Titan-Class Warship turning slowly in the dark, its hull covered with battle scars and the faded emblem of old Earth. "This cannot be real," whispered Counselor Vareth, his wings trembling. "Humans are myths," another counselor shouted. "Then who sent that message?" The room erupted into noise, voices overlapping, fear mixing with pride and confusion. At the center of the hall, Captain Raoul stood again, his uniform pressed, his expression pale. "It is real," he said firmly. "We saw it, we heard it speak. It called itself Terran, and it has technology far beyond anything we understand." The noise died instantly. The words "far beyond anything we understand" echoed through the room like thunder. Counselor Tareth turned to the science division. "Is there proof?" she demanded. The head scientist, a small creature with 4 eyes and trembling hands, stepped forward. "Yes," he said. "The energy signature from the Titan-class vessel was measurable. It used a power source not listed in any of our databases. It's old but impossible." "Explain," she snapped. The scientist hesitated. "It's not antimatter, not fusion, not even quantum core," he said softly. "It's something we don't know how to name, but it is controlled perfectly. That ship could power a planet for centuries." The silence that followed was suffocating. The thought of such power in the hands of an extinct race terrified everyone. Then another voice rose from the back, deep and harsh. It was General Corvin of the Defense Command. "If humans still exist," he said, "then they are a threat to every world in this galaxy. We must prepare a fleet. We must show strength before they strike." His words spread fear, but also anger. "Strike?" shouted one delegate. "Against a ship that disabled an entire fleet without firing?" Another argued, "We should negotiate." "Negotiate with ghosts?" Someone else spat. "We don't even know what they want." The council broke into shouting again, each race accusing the other, fear turning into chaos. The sound of voices echoed off the marble walls of the chamber like a storm. Meanwhile, in a quiet observation room above the chamber, Admiral Saris watched the chaos unfold through the glass wall, his cold metallic eyes reflecting the arguing crowd. He had fought in wars for 50 years, but nothing frightened him like what he had seen in that transmission. He turned to his assistant. "That ship," he said quietly. "It wasn't attacking," the assistant blinked. "Sir?" "It was warning us," Saris said, like a parent warning a child not to touch fire. Back in the chamber, a new image appeared on the main screen. A still from the Titan's final transmission zoomed in on the human symbol. 12 stars circling one planet. "What does this mean?" someone asked. 12 stars, said Captain Raoul. "One for each Terran colony before their fall," a murmur rippled through the hall. Old stories spoke of the 12 human worlds lost in their final war, and the 13th Earth sealed forever. Suddenly, all lights in the chamber flickered. The holoscreens blinked, and the council guards raised their weapons. A wave of static filled the air, followed by a deep, calm voice. "Galactic Council, the voice said. "You have broken the boundary again." Every being in the hall froze. The sound came from everywhere, from speakers, from comms, from even the air itself. "This is Titan Command," the voice continued. "Terran space is restricted," Counselor Tereth shouted. "Who are you?" "What are you?" The voice ignored her question. Instead it said, "You were warned." "This will be the final message." The chamber filled with gasps. Scientists scrambled to shut off the systems, but nothing worked. The voice seemed to bypass all controls, as if it spoke directly through reality itself. Then, every holoscreen showed a single image, the dark edge of space, and beyond it, hundreds of faint shapes slowly lighting up one by one. It took a few seconds before the Council understood what they were seeing. Those were not stars, they were engines. Titan-Class Warships, dozens of them, silent, ancient, awakening from their long sleep. The chamber erupted in screams, chaos, and panic. The communication lines went wild, worlds began to call in. "There's movement near the outer sectors. We're detecting massive power signatures." "What are these things?" General Corvin slammed his hand against the table. "We must defend the core worlds." But even his voice shook. Captain Rahl whispered, "It's too late for that." He stared at the glowing ships on the screen. "They're not attacking," he said softly. "They're watching." The Council finally fell silent again. Every delegate trembling, staring at the glowing fleet of the forgotten humans. Then the voice returned one final time. Quieter, colder, filled with the weight of ages. "We remember," it said, "and we do not forgive." The transmission ended. The lights flickered back to normal, and the room sat in stunned silence. No one dared to move. Counselor Tereth finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "What have we done?" Outside the Grand Chamber, across the stars, the Titan-class fleet slowly faded into darkness again, their engines dimming like dying embers, leaving behind one clear truth: humanity was not gone. Humanity had never left, and the galaxy had just woken a sleeping giant. The council chamber remained in silence long after the last words of the transmission faded. The echo of "we remember and we do not forgive" still lingered in every mind. Fear spread faster than any virus. Entire worlds began locking down their borders. Fleets were recalled, and the communication lines of the galaxy went quiet. In the darkness of the observation deck, Admiral Saris watched the screen replay the final image. A fleet of Titan-class human warships drifting like ghosts among the stars. His metallic hands clenched behind his back. "They were waiting," he whispered, "all this time." "They were waiting for us to return." Counselor Tereth entered the room behind him, her voice low. "We need to respond," she said. "We can't remain silent." Saris turned slowly, his face expressionless. "Respond?" He repeated, "How do you respond to gods who built monsters that sleep for millennia?" Meanwhile, across the border systems, chaos spread. Ships vanished near the dark edge. Colonies refused to send scouts, and whispers began to grow among the people. The humans were back. The old Death Worlders had risen again. On the mining moon of Zareth 4, a small listening post picked up a faint signal. It was rhythmic, calm, almost like music. The technician frowned and adjusted the frequency. Suddenly, a voice came through. Cold. "Precise human. To all who trespass beyond the line. This is Titan Command." The technician froze, sweat running down his face. "Turn back," the voice continued. "You are not welcome here." Within hours, the message spread across every network. Every planet heard it. It played on military frequencies, trade channels, and even civilian holofeeds, the same calm, commanding tone repeated again and again. "This is Titan Command. Leave Terran space immediately." The council called an emergency meeting, their fear now mixed with desperation. "They are warning us," shouted one delegate. "Not attacking," another screamed. "Not yet." The chamber filled with noise again until Admiral Saris raised his voice. Low but heavy. "Enough," he said. "The humans do not threaten." "They promise." Everyone went silent. Saris looked around. "If they wanted war, they could have erased us already. Instead, they only speak, which means they have purpose, a reason." He paused. "We must find out what that reason is." Reluctantly, the council agreed to send one final envoy, a neutral ship carrying no weapons, its only goal to deliver a single question to the Terrans. The ship chosen was the Vernus Dawn, commanded by a young captain named Ilara, brave, calm, and foolish enough to face the unknown. When the Vernus dawn entered the dark edge, the stars disappeared one by one, sensors failed, and the crew felt the air grow colder. The massive outline of the Titan-Class Warship appeared ahead, silent and still, like a mountain of metal frozen in time. The silence that followed was unbearable. Then a deep hum filled the ship, and the screens turned black. A faint light flickered, forming the outline of a human figure. It stood tall, armored, and wrapped in shadows. Only the eyes glowed faintly blue. "You are persistent," the voice said, slow and calm. "Why do you keep returning?" Ilara swallowed hard. "Because we want peace," she said. "We wish to understand who you are and what you want." The figure tilted its head slightly. "Peace," it repeated, the tone almost amused. "You speak of peace as if it is something you can offer. But peace is not yours to give." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The voice continued. "We are the memory of humanity," it said. "We are what remains of those who burned the stars and paid the price. We do not seek war, we seek silence," Ilara frowned. "Then why warn us?" she asked. The figure's eyes brightened. "Because silence is earned through respect," it replied. "Your council does not understand boundaries. You build empires where graves should be." The words cut through the air like a blade. Ilara took a slow breath. "What do you want us to do?" she asked quietly. The holographic figure leaned closer, its voice lowering to a whisper. "Remember," it said. "Remember that humans once gave peace and the galaxy repaid it with betrayal. Remember that we watched you rise on our ashes and we allowed it. But now the balance must be restored." The lights dimmed further. The ship's systems began to freeze. And the figure straightened again. "Leave Terran space," it said, "and never return. This is not your domain." Then, for a brief moment, the image flickered, revealing behind the human figure the shadow of something colossal. A city of ships, thousands of Titan hulls resting in darkness, lights pulsing slowly like sleeping beasts. Ilara's crew stared in silence, realizing that what they had seen before was only a fragment. The Titan fleet was not just one ship, it was a civilization hidden beneath the void. The transmission ended and all systems restored. Captain Ilara stood still, unable to speak. "They're not extinct," she whispered. "They never were." When the Vernus dawn returned to the council, her words were repeated across every world, every leader, and every channel. "And the humans live," she said. "And they are watching, across the galaxy." Fear turned into quiet obedience. The dark edge became forbidden once again. No ship dared to cross it, no signal was sent, and for the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy obeyed an order spoken by ghosts, and deep within the shadows, beyond every sensor, beyond every star, the Titans remained silent. Their engines cold, their weapons asleep, but their eyes open because humanity remembered. And they never forgot. Weeks passed since the final message from the humans. Yet the echo of their words haunted every corner of the galaxy. "Leave Terran space and never return," had become the law of fear. No ship dared to approach the dark edge again. No explorer, no smuggler, not even the most reckless pirate. The Galactic Council changed overnight. Meetings became secret, records were hidden, and the public was told that the signals were false. A natural cosmic event, they called it. But every citizen knew the truth. Every traitor whispered the same rumor. The humans are still alive. Admiral Saris sat alone in his quarters. The lights dimmed. The screen before him replayed the last transmission from the Vernus dawn. He watched the moment the armored human appeared, its voice steady, its eyes calm yet powerful. "We are the memory of humanity," it had said. Saris leaned back, his chest heavy. "Memory," he whispered. "Or judgment." Across the council worlds, fear began to shape life itself. Military funding tripled, new fleets were built, not to fight, but to flee. Some species started to abandon their outer colonies, believing the humans would strike again one day. Others began to worship them as divine beings, calling them the keepers of silence. But not everyone believed in surrender. In the cold labs of the outer system, hidden from the Council's eyes, a group of scientists worked secretly to study the signal. They played the human message over and over, analyzing the pulse hidden inside it, and what they found made their blood run cold. The signal was not just sound, it carried data. Encrypted layers of ancient Terran code, old and complex when decrypted. It revealed coordinates, deep within the dark edge. A point in space that pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. The lead scientist stared at the result, her voice trembling. "It's not a warning," she said. It's an invitation, far from the Council's reach. One rogue captain accepted that invitation. His ship, the Wraith, disappeared into the dark edge. His last transmission was calm. If they are out there, I will see them with my own eyes. After that, nothing, no signal, no trace, only silence. The Council soon learned of the mission, and panic returned. "They will see it as aggression," shouted one delegate. "You fools have doomed us all," cried another. Orders were given to seal the borders, destroy all long-range beacons, and erase every trace of the coordinates. But it was too late. The message had already spread through the underground channels of the galaxy. Meanwhile, in the shadows beyond known space, the Titan fleet stirred once more. Faint lights began to glow across their hulls. Energy rippled through the void, like ancient giants taking slow breaths after centuries of sleep. Deep inside the lead warship, a human voice spoke softly through the dark. "They never learn," it said. "They never change." On the Council world of Azen 9, Captain Alara stood before the gathered leaders, her expression grim. "You can hide your fear. You can silence the truth, but they are watching," she said, "and they are patient." Her voice carried across the chamber, but no one answered. The councilors sat in silence, some trembling, some praying, none willing to admit what they knew. The age of safety was over. Outside, in the blackness of space, merchant ships traveled slower now, keeping distance from the invisible borders of Terran space. Navigational charts were redrawn, marking the dark edge in crimson, with only one warning written across it. Here lies the memory of mankind. Generations began to pass, and stories turned into legend. Parents told their children not to look toward that part of the sky. "That is where the Deathworlders sleep," they would whisper. And they do not like to be disturbed. But every few years, someone claimed to see it. A flash of blue light among the distant stars. A shadow the size of a moon drifting between systems. Silent, watchful, back in the depths of the dark edge. The Titans waited, their engines dim but alive, their armor scarred from old wars, their AI minds dreaming of the past. They remembered the fall of Earth, the betrayal, the fire that consumed their world, and the promise made before the last sunrise. Never again. Inside the command chamber of the lead Titan, the hologram of an old human flickered, its eyes reflecting starlight. "We were builders once," it whispered to the empty void. "We reached for peace and they turned it into ash, so now we wait," the machine voice of the ship responded. "Do you believe they will return?" The hologram smiled faintly. "They always return," it said, "and when they do, they will remember who we were." The stars outside pulsed once, like a heartbeat in the dark, then faded in the galaxy beyond. Peace returned, fragile, fearful, full of silence, the kind of silence that is not calm but waiting. And so the legend of the Titan-Class Warship lived on, whispered across centuries, told in fear and awe. For it was said that if the Council ever dared to cross the dark edge again, the Titans would awaken, the stars would tremble, and humanity would rise once more. Because the universe had forgotten what humans were capable of, but the humans never forgot.